Vim for 2 years straight, and this is why I don't use Vim anymore. Here's a table of contents of everything I'm going to talk about and the timestamps for each topic, so feel free to skip around if you want to see a particular topic. Vim seems to be having a resurgence lately, with folks like the Primogen talking about how he loves to use Vim. And you know what? He inspired me to use Vim after 2 years of no longer using it, and after using it for a bit, I decided Vim is still, once again, not for me, and I stopped using it for the same reasons that I did 2 years ago. Now, what are those reasons, you may ask? Great question. There are multiple. Now, the very first reason as to why I no longer use Vim is because setting up Vim is kind of a pain. If I compare the setup process for Vim versus the setup process for VS Code, it is a night and day difference. My VS Code setup is incredibly simple. I actually have a video of it that you can check it out right here, where I go over my entire setup process and I do not install that many plugins. I install maybe like 3 or 4 of them and then I'm good to go. But with Vim, because it's so bare bones to begin with, it requires a lot of initial investment to get your Vim setup to honestly be at feature parity with VS Code. I'm being serious when I say that the other day when I tried to set up Vim for the first time after 2 years away from it and getting all the necessary features that I want, it took me well over 3 hours to get everything set up. So that's the first reason why I stopped using Vim. I felt like I spent way too much time initially to set up Vim to get everything working at feature parity with VS Code, when VS Code I was up and ready to go within like 10 minutes of installing the app. The second topic that I want to talk about is the speed of Vim and the speed of VS Code. The number one reason why people say they no longer use VS Code is because it's kind of big and bulky and it's not that fast, and Vim is way faster. And I gotta say, that's correct. Vim is way faster than VS Code and is so much more lightweight. But if I'm being honest, and if you're being honest, does it really make that much of a difference? Like, truly. Does that extra like couple seconds of speed, does it really improve your developer experience by that much? I personally like to believe that it actually doesn't. Sure, it might be slightly annoying, but I actually found setting up Vim in the beginning to be exponentially more annoying than having to wait like an extra second for a certain file to load. So yes, I do agree that Vim is way faster than VS Code, but personally for me, I don't think it's that much of a difference that I want to go and set everything up within Vim when I get everything for free on VS Code. The third reason why I stopped using Vim was the fact that it was too customizable. I was initially that type of developer that loved customizing everything. Every little color that I can change, every tiny macro that I can map to a certain key movement, every new package to add like just a tiny bit more optimization within Vim. I loved doing that. And that's honestly one of the biggest strengths of Vim. It's the fact that you can literally customize it to do anything that you want in your imagination. And while that's really great for some, and I love that internally, I also found that it actually made me less productive, because day by day I kept thinking to myself, wow, what can I do to make this like 0.1% faster to use in my day-to-day workflow? Like, I was spending too much time trying to optimize it because I know that I had the option to do so. Whereas with VS Code, yes, you can optimize it a little bit, but for the most part, it has its limitations on what you can add to it. And honestly, I found those limitations kind of good for me. It restricts me in terms of what features I can add to my text editor, so I no longer have to stress about trying to make my text editor like 0.1% more efficient. Whereas with Vim, I was stressed out about that stuff all the time. It was honestly a huge time sink for me. It was not worth it. Don't get me wrong, I still absolutely love Vim. And I think the most important reason why anybody should ever learn how to use Vim is learning all of the Vim commands and the Vim motions. In any text editor that I use, whether that be Xcode for writing iOS applications or VS Code for writing full stack web development applications, I always add the Vim key binding. And I do think that everyone should have a phase of their life where they're learning Vim, because learning those Vim commands are unbelievably helpful. You become so much faster as a developer when you know these commands. Now, I will say the biggest advantage and the biggest benefit to using Vim is kind of that cool factor, knowing that you're using Vim when everybody else is using VS Code. It's kind of like this weird gatekeeping programming mindset where Vim is known as like this purest form of coding. It's like the original text editor. There's no fluff. It's just Vim on its own. You feel kind of cool doing it. All right, come on. I know I'm not the only one. I know that there has to be other people that feel cooler using Vim compared to VS Code. And I will say, I think that there's something about that in this developer world, being like, oh, I don't use VS Code, I use Vim. Something about that, it like kind of feeds your ego, like you feel cooler using Vim. I know I definitely do. And that's why I tried to use Vim for so long. I tried to continue using Vim even after falling in love with VS Code, but ultimately everything else, like the too much customizability of Vim, the arduous and annoying setup process in the beginning, it ultimately just got in the way, and I realized no matter how cool I feel using Vim, it's just not worth it to me anymore.